Today we'll be hearing from writer-director Sofia Coppola and taking a deeper dive into how she directs a film. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, my name is Juliana and this is Juliana Talks Films, a channel where I explore and examine films and filmmakers. If you love films and filmmaking, consider subscribing for weekly videos. Sofia Coppola has become one of the world's most recognized indie filmmakers. Beyond her family ties, the director has broken out of her family shadow and really made a name for herself. Her work has been recognized at international festivals and award shows, including an Academy Award win in 2004 for Lost in Translation, and a Best Director Award at the Cannes International Film Festival for The Beguiled in 2017, which made her only the second woman to win a Best Director Award in the festival's history. Sofia is a mild-mannered, soft-spoken filmmaker who often tackles subjects of loneliness, isolation, and coming of age. Her work has a distinct airy nature in part due to its consistent color palette. The combination of pastel colors and natural light romanticizes the settings and characters in her films. She particularly focuses on female-driven storylines that showcase the female gaze. At the same time, her focus primarily centers around girlhood and what it means to become a woman in society. If you're interested in delving more into Sofia's film style and aesthetic, I recommend checking out the books The Politics of Visual Pleasure and A Cinema of Girlhood. I'll link both of them down in the description below. So super quick, before we delve in, I want to hear from you guys. What other filmmakers do you want to see/hear from in future videos? Leave me a comment below and let me know. So that's enough from me. Let's delve into Sofia's 5 lessons on filmmaking.
It seems so obvious, but at the time I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I went to Cal Arts and I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a painter.
Really? Did you paint?
Yeah, but very badly. Yeah, and then I went to Art Center. I moved to Art Center. And
where's Art Center?
In Pasadena.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty famous place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my painting teacher told me I wasn't a painter. Oh. And I was really upset, but I'm glad that they did. And I met Paul Jasmine, the photography teacher there, and got into photography. And
really? Like did you get into the history of photography and everything, or just shooting?
Just shooting and yeah, in the history, but more contemporary. And, and I collect photographs.
You do?
And so I love photography, and that's how I got into film through photography.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see that in your films. Like, who were like some of the photographers that inspired you?
I love Eggleston and Lee Freelander and Helmut Newton. And
did you go far back? Like, because did you ever look at that Auger stuff? Like,
no, I was always more interested in more contemporary or 40s on. Yeah. But I wasn't like consciously deciding not to go into the film business. Maybe I was rebelling.
Yeah, a little.
But
you would have had to lose your last name to completely rebel. You'd have to.
Yeah, it's true. My 10-year-old daughter is really into gymnastics. She said, "I'm going to be the first athlete in our family. They're all artists." And
oh, really?
It's funny.
That's how she's going to fight.
Yeah.
Look, that's better than drinking and being.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see.
Look, if she's going to fuck you, I'm going to do gymnastics. You're doing good as a parent.
That's true. I hope we can keep it up.
Did you ever do a show of your photographs and stuff? Were you really pursuing it? Or?
No, I worked for magazines, and I did a group show in Tokyo with some other people, but I was doing more kind of portraits and fashion. Never like an art photographer, but I don't know how I ended up. I was in my 20s just trying to figure it out and doing different things. But I was always kind of frustrated that I had a lot of interest, but I wasn't an expert at any. And then I made a short film. I had a little clothing company doing T-shirts, and I was interested in different things and trying to figure out. I didn't want to wake up one day and say, "Oh, I wish I had done something." So I tried to try a lot of things.
You did some T-shirts. How's that line doing? Is it still around?
Oh, it's gone. No. It was a early '90s moment.
Did it pick up any traction?
It did well in Japan. And
really?
We left it there. So, like California T-shirts. But no, we had like a little fashion line. But I tried different things, and then I made a short film, and I thought, here's something that incorporates all the things I'm into in music and photography, and
you had to realize that on your own. You couldn't look at it. You know what I mean? Like,
it seems so obvious, but it never occurred to me. I never thought I would be a director.
It's but it's kind of nice that it would have been expected that you would have appreciated all that before because you grew up in it and you were living it. But then not until you made your own thing, you're like, oh, you put music and there's acting. And
I was surprised at how I knew how to do it because I didn't go to film school, but of course I spent my whole life on my dad's sets, and he was always talking about it, and we were with all these great people that he worked with. But
was he constantly talking about it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was, and about writing too. I mean, as a little kid, you'd be talking about like 3-act structure.
Sure.
And, you know, so I was learning all this. All
it was all absorbing. And I guess if you're on set wandering around the Philippines watching him direct that movie, you're like, well, maybe I don't have to go that far. Maybe keep it a little tighter.
I guess other films and photography has been a big place of inspiration for me. And I've always loved photography, and my mom encouraged me to start collecting photography when I was a teenager, and so whenever I start a film project, I look at photos for a way to articulate what I have in my head to the people that I'm working with. So that's a starting point.
And are there specific? I mean, we're going to look at some work by, I assume, photographers and artists who you like. Are there specific people who you can recall that were early influences as you were introduced to photography, or as you began to kind of explore visual storytelling? I think I probably started knowing about it from fashion photography, and then I had a great teacher at Art Center, Paul Jasmine, who we would look through photo books, and he would show me photographers from other eras, and I loved Eggleston for the color, and I remember a photographer called Bill Owens that did portraits in suburbia that I looked at a lot for virgin suicides. And I'd love to go to art fairs with my mom and just discover photographs that I connected with. Well, you mentioned Eggleston. Why don't we bring up, Ronnie, that first image, and we can talk about where it fits and why it's relevant as a prompt, just to give you a visual.
I love this photo. I love his photos. I love the color and the atmosphere of his pictures. And this was a picture of girls talking that I had in I tape pictures of my script when we're shooting to remember things. And there's a scene where Elle Fanning, the character of Amy, is sad that McBee's been asked to leave, and Elle Fanning's leaning over him. And so I showed this picture to Philippe, the cinematographer, and so that picture of them, I don't know, just a reference of just a feeling of kind of the intimacy between girls, and we also, like, the art department worked together with the costume department to make sure that everything felt connected in this world. So we thought about the fabric on the couch and their costumes, and that I wanted them to all be in the same palette, like they were really all connected, and they weren't contrasting each other. Yeah, this was a photo by an artist, Joanne Callis, who I didn't know about. I saw this picture in a newspaper, and then I ordered her book, and I loved. I had this image when I was starting to write The Beguiled, because it was just something about. It's so kind of feminine, and it reminded me of like the frustration in the story. There's a lot of kind of sexual repression and frustration, and just they're so cut off from the world, and they have no one to interact with, and something about this image made me think of that.
Yeah, I never have, I mean, there's never really a strong plot, or I just kind of start and have a basic idea of where it's going, and then try to fill it in with little moments and memories, and you hope that it starts to come together. But writing is a mysterious process to me. I always find it hard. And this one I had kind of an idea, other than the idea of the daughter came in, I think because I just had a baby, and I was thinking about, you know, how that affects you and it changes your perspective. And I have friends who have a 12-year-old daughter, who parents are, you know, in this kind of Hollywood world, and I was thinking of her and, you know, and relating to her from my own childhood experiences.
And did having a daughter affect how you worked in terms of developing this movie?
Yeah, definitely. I think I used to stay up all night writing, because I feel like that's the time where no one's interrupting you, and you can focus. And having a baby, can't stay up all night writing. No. So I had to kind of change my writing habits and figure it out. But and I think also wanting to do something that wasn't really epic or ambitious, because I had a young kid. But I also wanted to make, I don't know, I just appealed to me. I like these kind of movies that are just something intimate and personal, and really specific to the point of view of the person that's making it. And I try to just put what's on my mind that I'm thinking about at the time. And I thought there were a lot of stories in the news too about successful actors having these personal crises, and I was like, just with our culture today, with all the kind of so many people obsessed with becoming famous and reality shows and stuff, I thought oh, I'm curious what happens, the next morning when you wake up, and that's really your reality, and what that's like.
Well, the writing process is always the hardest part for me. It's always a relief to get that finished, but adapting is easier than an original script because you have a roadmap of something to turn to, so you don't have the panic of the blank page. So
you have that panic often, the blank page?
I don't know, it's hard. Writing's hard for me, but you're alone, and it's hard to edit out the self-doubt, I guess. But when you're adapting something, you feel like it existed, and so somebody somewhere enjoyed it probably, and so it's not just totally coming from your imagination. But then it's fun because it's a puzzle to figure out how to turn it into a film from a book, and then you imagine, or I always try to connect the characters with real people I know so that they become more human, and I can bring details from people I know into them, and I loved the idea of this girls' school. The idea of like boarding school was always glamorous to me, or the idea of kind of women off together, living together. Maybe because I grew up with so many boys that it sounded fun to be in that world. But so then I just go through and mark the book and try to distill what's gonna make it into the movie. I think Virgin Suicides was the most exciting because I was learning how to adapt. I didn't have the rights to that book, and I loved that book, and I feel like that book made me want to become a filmmaker because I wasn't planning on being a director, but I loved that book so much that when I heard they were making a movie, I just thought, out of protectiveness about that book, I thought, I hope they don't mess it up when they make the movie. And I heard a man was directing it. It was supposed to be really dark, and I thought, no, that's not how it should be done. So I got the book, and I started. My dad always talked about adapting and writing, so I thought as an experiment, I would just try it a little bit. And then I got so into it, I kept going, and I finished the script. And by then, I was so connected to it that I met the producers and somehow talked them into them letting me direct it. And it was really only out of wanting to make sure that book was made the way I thought it should be made. And so that was probably, I think, because it was my first script, I didn't have all the baggage of how it's hard. I was trying to figure it out, so it was exciting. Yeah, I remember in my 20s somebody giving me the advice to find your team, like to really focus, like spend the next 10 years just honing and finding your team, and it's obviously such a collaborative effort to make a movie, so it's really important to find the people that you click with and that can help you make what you have in your mind and articulate that. So I met my friend Ann Ross, who's the production designer I've worked with. I met her. She went to NYU with my brother, and we both worked on a movie in the late 90s together, and so we became friends. She was working in the art department, and I worked in the costume department, and we just became friends, and I don't know when we started working together, but she didn't work on my first film, but when I was doing Lost in Translation, she started helping me prepare that, and she listened to endless me talking about Bill Murray for years, and she's always helpful and finding references together and really just getting what I want to do and helping with the visual world to go along with the story.
So that's Anne.
That's Anne. And then Stacey Batat, the costume designer, we worked on Somewhere and Bling Rings, the last couple movies. And this is our first period film, which I think she did such a beautiful job. And I thought she would bring something fresh to it because she wasn't approaching it from an academic way, although she took the period really seriously and did research. But I wanted it to be relatable to a modern eye so that she could help pick the clothes when you're looking at the real clothes of that time, which ones would be more appealing to us, wouldn't look as strange. And with the hairdos, we try to pick ones that didn't look so foreign or strange, and how to make it feel just relatable to a modern eye.
Are you tough on a costume designer?
I get involved, but she knows that, and we're friends, and we both have that in common. So it's fun to work together because I probably get more involved than some directors. But I think about that when I'm writing the character. I think about what they're wearing because I think it can convey a lot about their personality. So we worked together for the last 3 films, and then Sarah Flack, my editor, we've worked together since Lost in Translation, and she's great. I love working with her. We've done all of our movies together, And it's fun after the shoot is really, you know, stressful and rigorous because you only have a certain amount of time to get it all done, and then the edit we can take our time and really discover it together. And we have a really similar sensibility and sense of humor, and she's really great with music, and so that's the part I really enjoy, is working with her and kind of as it takes shape. So I really count on her. When we were shooting The Beguiled, I was thinking like, oh, I can't wait for Sarah to see this, and then to get her feedback was always fun. So it's like having someone in mind that you're making the movie for, and that she's going to put it all together.
After hearing some of Sofia's advice on filmmaking, what resonated most with you? My personal favorite piece of advice was to use art for inspiration. Leave me a comment below and let me know what resonated most with you. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who might also find it helpful as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.